Hello, I am your host and relationship coach, Christopher Linkenbach, and today's episode is going to be entitled Stop Looking for Your Soulmate. I am extremely excited to dive into this episode because this is really the root, the foundation of where our work here at Becoming a Gentleman begins. But before we dive straight into that, we are going to start off with a little quotation. And today's quotation, I actually do not know where this comes from. And so if somebody could please point me in the right direction of who originally came up with this quote, because this quote has been something that has been marinating in my psyche for a long time. And without further ado, here it is. Stop looking for your soulmate and start looking for your soulmate. So, with that quotation, we are now going to dive into the premise of today's discussion. I'm currently in the process of writing a book on this very topic, which once again is the foundation of the work we're doing here at Becoming a Gentleman, which is that our society has fallen hard for the illusion, for the narrative, that something in the external world is here to fix us or to fill up our internal sense of completeness, that something in the external world will help us to feel better on the inside. Now, of course, we may mask this feeling inside of us, this disconnection, with pleasure seeking, with drugs and alcohol, pornography, video games, women, sex, excitement, right? And at the end of the day, all of these pleasures are fleeting. They come and they go. And when we are constantly seeking pleasure to fill us up on the inside, we are trapped in a cycle of addiction. And each one of us has our own vices. Some it is work, and some it is food, and some it is working out, and some it is drugs and alcohol, and some it is pornography, and some it is multiple of the topics that we are discussing here. And where this all comes into play is at the root of who we are. Now, when we go through our lives as children, we experience some sort of traumatic experiences. And these traumatic experiences may be as serious as sexual abuse or physical trauma, or a father leaving us and not helping provide for the family, serious abandonment wounds, or they also may be as simple as a mother turning her gaze away as a child when we were crying out for food, right? And in that moment, our brains could not logically understand, oh, she's just kind of tired. Mom doesn't want to feed us right now. It's okay. She'll probably get up and feed us in the next 10, 20 minutes. No, in that moment as an infant, when we were crying out and our mother turned her gaze away from us, we in that moment instantly were traumatized thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. Oh my God, this is it. This is it for forever. And because of these serious emotions, our body was not able to process this at the time. And because of that, these emotions get lodged up inside of us. Now, these traumas, they get internalized and they create one of our favorite emotions, the emotion that we talk about so much on this podcast, the emotion of shame. Now, what shame is an emotion that there is some good that comes with shame. We would not have shame in our psyches, in our realities today, if it did not serve an evolutionary process, and that process being cultural adaptation, fitting into a mold of society, right? Because if we didn't have that mold, it's kind of like a bumper rail, like a bowling alley, and it allows us to kind of just play within these realms. Obviously, there's some good amount of shame. Shame keeps us from doing certain societal acts, for instance, like going out in the street, running around naked, right? Or just doing little things here and there that may seem like a social blunder. Shame does serve a purpose, and there are some healthy amounts of shame that keep us in a healthy role in society. Now, when we internalize the shame as opposed to just feeling it and processing and allowing it to go through us, for instance, back to the example of the child looking at her mother or his mother and seeing in that moment a trigger inside of them, all of a sudden, at that moment of the mother's gaze turning away and the emotions rushing into the child's psyche, unable to process these, the child instantly makes the assumption, oh, I'm not getting food right now because I must be bad. I must be unworthy. Ultimately, I must be unworthy of love. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when we get to the root of this, we are love. We are source energy. We are the love of this universe. And when we make the assumption that in some way we are unworthy of that which we are, we have made the vow and constricted our flow to the connection to ourselves. And because of this, we now look for something external to give us that sense of connection. And it can be found through external means. It can be found through drugs and alcohol, through pornography, through sugar, through working really hard. Right? With shame, we go one of two ways, and we typically oscillate between the two. We either A, go the perfectionist route, thinking that we're above everybody else, or we go the exact opposite and we assume that we are worse than everybody else, that we are worthless, that we are pieces of trash. And sometimes we just oscillate between these two. We assume that we're better, we go to worse, better, worse, better, worse. And because of this, we never establish a healthy sense of self. And because we do not have a healthy sense of self, we are looking to the outside world to tell us who we are. Which brings us into the topic of validation seeking. We are asking of our external world to validate our existence, to prove that we are human, to prove that we are here. And we do not need to prove anything. We are proven in our society. In one of my clients' cultural societies, they grew up in an Asian culture. It's very similar in the fact that you are not worth anything. You do not amount to anything unless you get good grades as a child, unless you become successful, right? You are not deserving of love unless you do good. So now we get trapped in the cycle of always doing good, of trying to validate ourselves to our parents initially, to those in our society, and then also this translates into loved ones. So now we, in our existence, catch what is known as the myth of the soulmate. When we do not have a healthy sense of self due to the internalized shame inside of us, we now ask of another individual to be our source and connection to love. And this gets dangerous because relationships are a source of love. There's love in a relationship. And what happens is we start going to the relationship to get that feeling. We become addicted to our relationships. We become codependent. We start looking for love in our relationships. And this is the reversal of cultivating a healthy relationship. In order to cultivate a healthy relationship, we must bring love into it. We must be love and bring love into the relationship, and our partner must be love and bring love into the relationship, and we meet together in love. To be in love with somebody does not mean that you are using them for love. To be in love with somebody means that you are already in love. Somebody else is already in love, in the emotion of love, and you are just meeting at that middle ground. To be in love with somebody. Now, when I say to stop looking for your soulmate, I do not necessarily mean that there is not an individual out there or several individuals out there who are somewhat of a, if you want to talk energetic terms, vibrational equivalent to who you are, and or if you want to talk more scientific, more practical terms, an individual out there who you vibe with, who you resonate with just a little bit more. I'm not saying that there aren't certain individuals out there who you are intended to meet in order to help teach you lessons or cultivate a certain aspect of your life or to just kind of flip-flop your life in a certain way. I'm not saying that we aren't supposed to perhaps even, marry or meet certain individuals. However, what I am saying is that if you are looking for your soulmate, you are going to get hurt. Because eventually the love does run out in a relationship when you are constantly looking to extract from it. And that is why it's so important to cultivate a healthy sense of self first. This is why if you are looking for a soulmate, you must mate with your own soul first. And what I mean by that is that you must find out who you are on a deep, deep level. And to begin healing from shame. To begin healing the trauma inside of yourself. To begin to work on those feelings of unworthiness. Because if you assume that you are unworthy of love at the subconscious level, try building a healthy relationship on top of the fact that you assume that you aren't even worthy of a healthy relationship. Right? And so that is what the work is predicated on upon here at the Becoming a Gentleman podcast, is that we are trying to help you to, realize those feelings of unworthiness and to work with those first. Because you can get a haircut, you can learn pickup skills, you can do all that to help attract a quote unquote partner. But if you have not fixed or at least started to heal from those feelings of unworthiness, you are just going to be spitting partners out left and right, and you are just going to be running around getting your heart broken because you have not fixed that feeling of loneliness and disconnection yet. You are looking for the external world to validate you, to fill you up with that feeling, and that is the fallacy, that is the trip of our ego, of this universe, is that we are already love. We are already that which we seek. So, it does not mean that you are to become narcissistic, that you are to only be self-seeking and 100% only going about your love. However, it is 100% okay to set boundaries and be self-serving and to make sure that you are okay first. And if you would like to cultivate a healthy relationship, you must dive into your own psyche and begin to heal your childhood wounds. And then the relationship also becomes a place for a container to start working on those childhood wounds as well, because there are some emotions trapped inside of us that only get pulled up through relationship. So you begin to work on yourself. You develop some modalities of healing that you can then bring into as a foundation into the relationship to then start cultivating a healthy relationship. So if there's any message here that you're taking away, if you are looking for somebody to fill you up, that is the exact emotion right there that you need to dive into, to play with in yourself. That feeling of loneliness, of disconnection, of unworthiness, the insecurities, the self-doubt. That is what you get to play with. That is your internal work. And the way we go about healing that is to find that and to feel that. Getting from the head back into the heart. And then from there, after cultivating a little bit of self-love, a little bit of self-confidence, now we have a foundation to bring into a relationship. If you are looking for help in any of this, you can schedule a free consultation down below. We dive deep into first helping you heal from trauma and shame, then we build you back up, teaching healthy masculine virtues, to then 3, provide a framework to cultivate healthy and loving relationships. My name is Christopher Linkenbach, and I thank you all so much for listening. I will catch you in the next one, alright? Peace!